Double the Sonics means double the adventure. 2 ways to play, twice the fun. Sonic Generations.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, going back to a little game that's been in the news lately. Don't know if you saw it. Sonic Generations, one of the GOATs. Many on Retro Rebound know of it, but I will retell the tale nonetheless. Yes, I was a Sonic hater. Then I went on the Sonic pilgrimage because many of you, alongside my fiance and one of my best friends, said, just give it another chance, Maddie. You'll see it. You'll understand the greatness that is Sonic. And I went in laughing and I came out crying. I was like, wow, I actually like this thing now. So here I am today talking about Sonic Generations, a game that I adored before the Sonic pilgrimage. And that's what makes it significant to me. In the thick of modern Sonic games that grew my distaste of the franchise, this one stood out as the rare exception where I went, hey, if more Sonic games play like this, I'd be all over the series. And then we got Sonic Forces. The following video is brought to you by Squarespace. Entrepreneurs, lend me your ears. We are in the era of making your own business. It has never been easier than it is right now, and it's thanks to websites like Squarespace, where they allow you to make your website, whether it's selling products or time or content, all in one place, all on your terms. They do it the absolute best thanks to their wonderful tool set. As a game developer who needs their own site, as a content creator who's looking into their own site, this is so important. Hear me out. Squarespace is powered by Fluid Engine. This is a next generation website design system from Squarespace, so it's never been easier to unlock your creativity with the best in class website templates that you can see here I'm using. And from here, I can customize it to my heart's content. You can sell custom merch here. You can add extensions to connect your store to vetted third-party tools to extend the functionality of your website. There are analytics available for you to track how well your website is doing. There's a members area. There is so much here to unpack. So what are you waiting for? Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/retrorebound to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Naturally, because of today's events, I would like to talk more about Sonic Generations and why, yes, it's really that good. In fact, it's more than good, it's fantastic, and you owe it to yourself to play this Sonic game. Is it the best story in the Sonic franchise? No. If you ask me, I think Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 hold those titles still. Frontiers is kind of in the mix a little bit for its feelsy nature, but yeah, Sonic Generations isn't going to pull you in with a great story, but what it will keep you for is gameplay. And this is like a, if you start to learn your way around, it could be a 3-hour game, but it starts off as like a 6 to 7 hour game as you feel your way around. And even though it's that short, you will put hours upon hours into it, or I've put dozens of hours into Sonic Generations. So let's talk about why it really is that fantastic. If you're new here and you're into nostalgic, retrospective, or the occasional Sonic content. Remember, we used to use Sonic content all the time. We don't do it as much anymore because we've kind of flown through the mainline stuff, but still consider subscribing as we do talk about Sonic anytime there is something to talk about. Why is this game special? Well, there's a sentimental value attached to it, and I feel like the special part about video games that I've never experienced with a show, anime, movies, as much as I adore them in their own ways, video games transport me to certain times in my life, and I think it's because every video game is a journey. You don't just, like with a movie, sit down, one watch, and you're done, even though that can convey a totally different experience. With video games, they're with you for days and weeks, and sometimes, depending on your schedule, months. And Sonic Generations arrived at this really perfect time in my life. It was junior year of high school, and I had appendicitis. So your boy was laid up in the hospital. I was puking bile. It was terrible, and I ended up getting some organs removed. I came home and I said, Mom, I'm on painkillers. What do I do? And all of a sudden, I was on Sonic Generations. And that was one of the few things I could do when I was not passed out asleep because of the painkillers I was on. Well, that, and I was watching a lot of E3 reruns. I was like on this big kick of watching like old demos of canceled games. Great time when you really think about it nonetheless, but still, Sonic Generations carried me through a pretty rough experience, if you will, and so I love it for that. But it's also the gift that keeps on giving. Remember, I played this in a bubble where I wasn't a big Sonic fan. I dabbled, but I never really loved it. I kind of slandered his name, I'll be honest. I call myself a fraud because I kind of was being one. And so, if you don't know, Sonic Generations is this celebration of pretty much every Sonic game, incorporating stages from the 2D games and the 3D games, and just loving on everything from Sonic Heroes to Adventures to Unleashed. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful video game. But me, when I was playing it in high school, I didn't have any reference. This was just a great 2D, 3D platformer with awesome music and even more awesome stages. So it's the gift that keeps on giving, in that when I come back to it now and I recognize, like, oh, that's Seaside Hills, oh, that's Speed Highway, it delivers a different type of feelsy experience. And don't even get me started on the modding community here. From playing as Lightning McQueen, which is something my buddy set up and it's pretty hilarious, all the way to being able to replay the entirety of Sonic Unleashed stages is what makes Sonic Generation awesome to this day. It's that gameplay, that gameplay, that gameplay. So it's not just nostalgia factor here. What makes the gameplay great? It's the boost system. This was introduced in Sonic Unleashed, and it was evolved upon here in Sonic Generations. Now, in Unleashed, as I described it in my review when I played it for the first time, I said that sometimes it feels like you're on a slip and slide, like you have to really make your turns nice and early. The system works when you adjust to it that way, but it never feels quite right. And it was acceptable, right? It was the first rendition of the boost system. So Sonic Generation was able to take the baton and run with it a bit. Pardon the pun there. But anyway, Sonic is running away with this baton, and what do they add here? Better, tighter controls that I would equivalent to, like, this is a Need for Speed game. Like, the way you e-brake around corners, if you will, works really well. You boost out of the e-brake really quickly. Like, there's a great flow and feel and sense of control of Sonic. Arguably the best controlling 3D rendition of Sonic. And I love it because the levels are pretty narrow at times. Not like Sonic Forces narrow, where you'll just hold the boost button and the game plays itself for you and you're just hitting boost pads and jump pads automatically. None of that really. But what happens is it puts you on a path enough, but then will present like multiple options that you'll want to explore to find new collectibles, to find the quickest way through stages. There are even some insane ones like on Green Hills, where that's the opening stage and you'll like boost off a hill and be able to hit a couple of rings that'll save you a few seconds. Like, this game is just so replayable because of how well designed it is. There's always a new way through a stage. It's not like many modern Sonic games, I feel, where you miss one shortcut and there's no way around it. It felt like much how I felt with Sonic Superstars recently, where I'm not great at 2D Sonic games. I found that out really with Sonic Mania. And when I messed up in Sonic 2D games, or sometimes even 3D games, there wasn't really an answer. It was just like, yeah, you're gonna take the uneventful, boring way around. But then I feel like Sonic Generations was one of those examples where it was like, hey, you missed this ring jump here, but there's another pathway coming up in a few seconds that if you hit that, you can now get onto that pathway and continue saving time and beating the level and getting that S rank, which feels great. Because then there's like an upgrade system. You can go to like a storefront in the hub world and you can unlock new things like shoes and crazy different abilities like ring dashes, all that awesome stuff. So yeah, there's like a good flow here too. I mean, it's minor progression elements, but they work better than usual Sonic progression elements. It's also a fantastic option. I know I have the 360 behind me, but it's usually a fantastic option on Series X if you can. They did FPS boost for a lot of the modern Sonic games, and so you can actually play this in 60 frames. Why that's important to call out is my favorite example is Speed Highway. I remember playing that in high school and watching as my frame rate dropped through the floor, although I didn't know what frame rate was at the time, so I was like, yo, my game's lagging, dude, because all I played was Call of Duty for the most part, so I thought it was some connection-based issue, I guess. But nonetheless, your frames go through the floor when you're sprinting down Speed Highway, all the cops are following you, the glass is breaking, and here in Sonic Generations, on the Series X, it runs buttery smooth. Like, there's never been a better time to try out Sonic Generations, truly. I also just love the celebration of the franchise that this game is. Like, Sonic Generation vibes with me really well because this is a game that you really look at the stage count and how it's got the 2D, 3D Sonic hybrid. Like, no one was left behind here. We sometimes hear with Sonic Superstars coming out, oh man, I'm just a 3D Sonic fan. And then Frontiers comes out and people are going, oh, I wish they just did them like they used to. And then you get remasters like Origins and you go, oh, I wish Sega cared. Like, everyone feels left behind in some degree when it comes to Sonic releases. And it felt like Sonic Generations just picked up everyone and carried them with them. And I love that about this game. Now, can I agree that like the better recommendation for a remaster or a remake as a candidate wouldn't be Generations? It would be something along the lines of Sonic Unleashed? Yeah, Absolutely, completely 100,000% agree. For me, Unleashed has that story potential behind it. It has the boost gameplay that needs refinement. I also think if they just took the combat music out of the game, that would just save it a million points in my eyes, where it would go from like, this is an alright game to pretty good, because the music in Sonic Unleashed is a complete vibe. It was one of the last true ambitious Sonic games for its time, really, up until I would say Sonic Frontiers. Not that Generations isn't ambitious, but Generations is definitely more gameplay focused. So yeah, Unleashed fans, I hear you. I think that it's the better candidate, but Generations is such a phenomenal gameplay driven experience that you will, if you have not played it, fall in love with it and go like, hey, even if I'm not a Sonic fan, like I can understand this has a fun factor to it. So the story, as I said, really isn't the fun factor. It's like there's a party going on and the party's crashed by you-know-who, Eggman, and oh man, we gotta go save everyone, and yeah, let's go beat the final boss. It's a story, all right? So that's Sonic Generations, but we also have a 360 copy here behind us, which we're gonna go through for a complete in-box experience, and then we'll start wrapping this thing up. Here we have Sonic Generations on the Xbox 360, which is playable in 3D. We actually still have a 3D television in my house right now that we're looking to get rid of, but maybe I should just try out the 3D functionality here, see how it's going. I don't like that this has a little rip in it, so I'm going to have to replace this one of these days, but nonetheless, it says 2 Sonics, 2 ways to play. Spin attack and dash in non-stop platforming action is classic Sonic. Yeah, the spin dash in this game feels incredible. And experience supersonic speed as you grind, slide, and boost as modern Sonic. Yeah, there's like levels where you just straight up don't let go of the X button, if you're playing on Xbox, that is, where you're just boosting the whole way through. It says, for the first time ever, 2 Sonics in one epic game. A mysterious new power sends Sonic back in time where he runs through his original classic self, and now they must embark on the ultimate time-bending adventure to defeat their enemies, save their friends, and find out who's behind it all. Gee, I wonder. Anyway, it says take on infamous bosses and mysterious new enemies, amazing high-definition graphics, also playable in 3D, and unlock new characters and adventures. On the inside here, you have the wonderful disc art, which is very similar to what you see on the manual art, and the front case here, all in unison. You have a manual here, if you will, which is not much. It's the controls. It is black and white. They say the full manual for this game can be downloaded online. Who does that? Has anyone actually done that before, gone online and said, let me check out the manual? Certainly the tutorial won't give me everything I need. They have Xbox Live broken down, and then a different language for the commands, and then a promotion for Sonic All-Star Racing with Banjo-Kazooie. I've actually never played this game, so I gotta check that out one of these days. But yeah, that is the manual, and that is a complete in-box experience for Sonic Generations. I really gotta replace this. Look at that. This doesn't give me that satisfying, like, listen to this, right? You hear the little, right? It gives a nice little click. But this down here, nope, nothing. Just loosey-goose. We gotta figure that out. But nonetheless, complete box copy of Sonic Generations. I will say this. I feel like I picked a great time to be a Sonic fan. You know, I think of the years of suffering, you know, Sonic Boom, Fire and Ice, Sonic Chronicles, Dark Brotherhood, or whatever the heck it's called, man. That game, like, not a crazy fan of that. Like, there was a lot of things I dodged. Like, I enjoyed Sonic 06 because it was like my first game I played on the PS3, so kind of had that grandfathered in, right? Like, I've managed to find myself in this pocket here where like Sega is pumping the Sonic license full of love, and the movies are kind of decent, and so they're just doing a ton of games, and then you get Frontiers, which is like actually a pretty good, in my opinion, 3D Sonic game that's got some heart to it. And now I'm really excited about the future, especially when they've teased like Sonic Adventure 3 or some type of remake for that. Like the fact that Sega's remaking a ton of old games and we have yet to see anything about like a Sonic Adventure remake is nuts to me. That's sitting on a gold mine. So I'm really keen to see where things end up, but it's a great time to be a Sonic fan, and it's a great time to try one of these games out. I just wonder what the selection process is for Sega with some of these remasters. Like, I don't think Colors is a bad game. We've never done an individual video on Colors here on the channel. I don't think Sonic Colors is a bad game. It's just not the first game I think of when I go, oh, that needs a remaster. Like, if you wanted to remake something, like Sonic Chronicle Dark Brotherhood would be a great pick. I want to have a great turn-based Sonic game. If you want to remake a more traditional, ambitious style Sonic game, Unleashed is a fantastic pick I know we have Sonic P06, and I don't think anyone's ever going to do it better than what we're getting in that. But I do wonder why Sega isn't thinking to themselves, like, what if we tried that again and got it right? Because that truly was Sonic Adventure 3. There's so many ways to go about it. It's interesting that they picked the safest one, which kind of doesn't need any sort of like remaster or up-res or anything, really. It's just great as it is. So I would love to be a fly on the wall watching them make those selections, but nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves. Let me know your thoughts on Sonic Generations down below, and I will catch all of you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.